The creation and the causes of the deluge, as preserved through the works of Syncellus, offer a captivating glimpse into ancient Babylonian beliefs that shaped their understanding of the cosmos and humanity's place within it. This narrative delves into the mythological events that led to the formation of the world and the catastrophic flood that followed, highlighting the interplay between divine forces and the fate of mankind. Through this ancient account, we gain insight into how early civilizations sought to explain the mysteries of creation and the forces that govern existence, drawing intriguing parallels with other cultural myths, including those found in the Book of Genesis. Berossus tells us about the primeval abyss, a vast, chaotic expanse from which everything came into being. This mirrors the story of Tiamat's slaying in the Babylonian creation myth. We'll explore the birth of mankind, the origins of sovereign rule, and the lush, vibrant land of Babylon, a hub for many nations. One of the most intriguing figures in this narrative is Oannes, a therianthropic being, part human, part fish, endowed with reason and wisdom. We'll also encounter high-ranking gods like Belus and Cronus and see how they shaped the world as we know it. In the preserved fragments of Syncellus's Chronicon, Berossus begins by informing us that he lived during the time of Alexander, the son of Philip. He mentions that in Babylon, there were ancient written records carefully kept for 15 myriads of years. These records contained a history of the heavens, the seas, the birth of mankind, and the deeds of those who held sovereign power. Berossus describes Babylonia as a rich and fertile land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. It was abundant with wheat, barley and other crops, with lakes full of edible roots like gongse, which provided nutrition similar to barley. The region was lush with palm trees, apples and various kinds of fruits. The rivers and lakes were teeming with fish, and the skies were full of birds. However, the part of Babylonia near Arabia was barren and dry, while the region across from it was hilly and fruitful. During this time, Babylon was a bustling city, attracting people from various nations, but they lived in chaos, without any established rule, much like wild animals. In the first year, something extraordinary happened. From the Erythraean Sea, which bordered Babylonia, there emerged an animal endowed with reason called Oannes. According to Apollodorus, this being had the body of a fish, but also had a human head beneath the fish's head, along with human feet attached to the fish's tail. Oannes could speak in a human voice and language, and depictions of him have survived to this day. During the day, Oannes would converse with humans, though he never ate during this time. He taught them everything from writing and science to constructing houses, founding temples, and understanding the principles of geometry. He showed them how to distinguish the seeds of the earth and how to collect fruits. Essentially, Oannes provided the knowledge needed to civilize mankind. His teachings were so comprehensive that nothing significant has been added since. At night, Oannes would return to the sea, where he lived as an amphibious being. Following Oannes, other similar beings appeared, but their stories are saved for the history of the kings, which Berossus promises to cover later. Oannes also wrote about the creation of mankind, describing their various ways of life and their systems of government. In the beginning, there was nothing but darkness and an abyss of waters, home to hideous beings born from twofold principles. These beings had various forms, some with 2 wings, some with 4, and some with 2 faces. They had one body with 2 heads, one male and one female, and their organs reflected both genders. There were also creatures with the legs and horns of goats, and others with human-like forms but with horse-like limbs, resembling centaurs. Bulls with human heads, dogs with bodies of fish, and other strange combinations filled the abyss. The Temple of Belus at Babylon preserved images of these beings. The ruler of these beings was a woman named Omeroka, also known as Thalath in Chaldean, which translates to Thalassa, or the sea in Greek. In another interpretation, her name is equivalent to Selene, the moon. At this time, Belus came and cut Omeroka in half. From one half he created the earth, and from the other he formed the heavens. He also destroyed the creatures in the abyss. This act is said to be an allegorical description of nature. The universe, initially filled with moisture and continually generating life, was ordered by Belus. Belus cut off his own head, and the other gods mixed his blood with the earth from which mankind was formed. This is why humans are rational and possess divine knowledge. Belus, known as Dis or Pluto by men, divided the darkness, separated the heavens from the earth, and brought order to the universe. However, the newly created beings couldn't bear the light and died. Seeing this vast uninhabited space, Belus ordered one of the gods to take off his head. When this was done, they mixed his blood with the soil of the earth to create new men and animals capable of enduring the light. Belus also formed the stars, the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets. In the second book of Berossus' history, we learn about the 10 kings of the Chaldeans and their reigns, which collectively spanned 432,000 years, leading up to the time of the Great Flood. This part of the story introduces Xisuthros, the 10th king, who reigned during the time of the deluge. The deity Cronus appeared to Xisuthros in a vision, warning him that on the 15th day of the month Dacia, a great flood would destroy mankind. Cronus instructed Xisuthros to write down the history of the world and to bury these records securely in the city of the sun at Sippara. He was also told to build a large vessel, take his family, friends, and everything necessary to sustain life on board, along with pairs of all animals. When Xisuthros asked where he should sail, Cronus replied, "To the gods." Following the divine command, Xisuthros built a vessel 5 stadia long and 2 stadia wide. He gathered his wife, children, friends, and all the animals, and they set off. After the floodwaters receded, Xisuthros sent out birds to see if the land had dried. The birds returned with mud on their feet, and eventually they didn't return at all, indicating that the waters had subsided. Upon finding that the vessel had come to rest on a mountain, Xisuthros, his wife, daughter, and the pilot exited the vessel. Xisuthros built an altar and offered sacrifices to the gods. Then something extraordinary happened. Xisuthros and those with him disappeared. The others who had stayed on the vessel heard his voice in the air, urging them to honor the gods and informing them that he and his companions had been taken to live among the gods due to their piety. Xisuthros also instructed them to make their way to Babylonia and retrieve the writings at Sippara to share with all mankind. The people obeyed and returned to Babylonia, where they found the writings and began to rebuild cities and temples. The remains of the vessel, stranded in Armenia's Gordisian mountains, were still visible in ancient times. The local people would scrape off the bitumen from the vessel to use as an amulet or a cure. And so Babylon was re-inhabited, and the knowledge preserved through the writings was shared with future generations. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the ancient world of Syncellus' Chronicon. If you enjoyed this exploration of history and mythology, be sure to subscribe to Eat the Fruit and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.